picking up where I left off, now that I've put gas in the car and I'm ready to ease on down the road. So as I pulled into the gas station here and was discussing my approach to completing this book, I had an interaction, a roadway interaction. And since I have a whole system of belief based on our interactions on the roadways and while operating our motor vehicles, it was somewhat appropriate and as much as I want to dive off on a tangent about some of my deep core beliefs regarding awareness, understanding, respect, I'm going to avoid that for now. And I managed to let it go without losing my temper. That situation where I had the right of way and someone else decided they had waited long enough and they were just going to go and decided to take the spot that I was trying to occupy. And I had a couple of choices. One, I could just let her. Two, I could cut her off and not allow her. And I could have gone a variety of ways. But I opted for cutting her off and not allowing her access to where she was trying to go because, well, it was my space. And she was angry, and I was ready to be angry. And anyway, it's home. But it reminded me that the potential for conflict is always there. There's always going to be conflicting perceptions and perspectives. And just looking at that situation that happened, my perspective, perception was I was on the active roadway. I had right away from people coming out onto the active roadway. Her perspective, perception, I'm sure, and I'm just guessing, was that there's a lot of traffic on that active roadway. And the only reason I say this is because I've been in this situation. It's not the first time I've had an interaction similar to this. I've had interactions similar to this multiple times at that exact point on that road. And there's a lot of traffic on that roadway, so if you're trying to get out, since there is no light, and you are subject to the right of way of the people on the active roadway, you can be there sometimes for quite some time. And sometimes you have to push the limits and cut in where there might be enough space and there might not. And then there's sometimes where people just get so fed up, they're just like, fuck it, I am going, I don't give a shit what any of you say. I've been here long enough and I'm seizing my moment and beware. And that was where she looked like she was coming from. She was like, you know what? I'm not going to get another opportunity. I'm just going. And I did not yield my space. And she was in those situations that determine whether we get involved in a conflict that may or may not have merit. Honestly, if that had led to confrontation in the parking lot, what would it have proved? Where's the merit? There really was none. Other than the satisfaction of saying, I was right and I stood my ground. Well, that's fantastic. But is it worth the possibility of going to jail? Because you never know when those things are initiated and instigated, how far they're going to go. And it's keeping that kind of mentality, that kind of image in mind, that once you initiate a situation along that path, the outcome is fairly unpredictable, because then once emotions and physiology kick in, your adrenaline starts running and you've got this rush, you really don't know. You may do something out of character, something you never expected, and someone else may do something the same way, which is going to force you in a position to fear flee. You're both going to be in that situation, and if you both continue to push those limits, and you're riding on an adrenaline high, and your emotions are kicked in, and you may do something that you're going to regret at some point. So why put yourself in those situations? So back to generating this book, I'm trying to present a positive approach to life while understanding and accepting the negative. And hopefully creating something that stands out from any other body of work and allows others to enhance and improve their quality of life. So that's all I've got to say about those things. So back to where I've been trying to maintain a balance, and I've been trying to push the limits of myself, stretch those just a little bit farther so that the new limits become the routine. So I've been working out every day. I've toned down my workouts. They're not as intense or elaborate as they have been. It's always nerve-wracking sitting here at this corner watching these big trucks turn out of this street, and they're just inches from your bumper as they complete this turn. So that last couple of trucks nearly clipping me kind of distracted me, so I don't remember what I was talking about. Oh yeah, my daily routine. So I've kind of dialed down my workouts, mostly for time. that, if I'm comfortable doing that, then I'm maintaining a good, what I would consider level of strength. And so I'm just getting here to the property that I'm coming to, and there's a truck parked in the driveway, and I don't know why. Unless it's one of the neighbors using it as a parking space. It definitely needs to be mowed again.
Disconnected. Uconnect phone. Ready.
Call Boardwalk.
Please say 1 for calling Boardwalk. 2 for Morgan.
1.
Calling Boardwalk. Mobile, is this correct?
Yes.
Phone signal strength is low. Calling.
Real estate office, please hold. Well, hi Jason.
Hey, can I speak with Dobbs?
Sure, hold on. Welcome to Boardwalk Real Property Management. Established in 1986, we are proud to serve property owners and renters throughout the San Andreas.
This is Dobbs.
Hey, it's Jason.
Hey, what's up?
Can you get somebody over to do Village Glen?
Sure.
Mow. It's sporadically high weeds.
Okay.
But
Will do.
there's no violation posted on here yet, but it's only a matter of time.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks.
All right.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Phone call completed.
All right. Off to the next one. So, again, my workouts are, they're helping me maintain. I don't want to go that way. This next one. I'm pushing the levels of my strength, trying to keep those right at or above if I can, because it's a balance, you know. It's a test of will. It's a test of the self to push those limits and maintain that physical strength, which can be mirrored in your mental, spiritual, the unseen portion of you. To balance that out, I downloaded a free chess game on my computer, and I love to play chess and used to play sporadically in my life at different periods in time. I had gotten into it and played, and I was extremely disappointed the first time I played at how poorly I played, how poorly I was able to really comprehend the most basic of strategies, and got beat. Finally put it down onto, said I'm going to have to start over from scratch, put it back down on level 1, and I've been playing every day. I've been trying to play at least one game a day, just to done, and it's really kind of, I think, beneficial for me to have that creative outlet. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I wasn't feeling particularly motivated or inspired to create a wand that day, but it was the concept that I was more interested in. It was the process of immersing myself in a creative activity. And I started spinning and got it turned down and got the rough turn, and I got it down to the basic size that I wanted it to be, and then started to shape the handle and the wand itself, and was happy because it came out. I found inspiration. It came out different than anything I had done so far, or any of the designs that I had conceptualized in my head, and I wanted this one to be different. I wanted it to be something original, so it was what I was striving for, and I got it. And I got the basic shape down, and I was taking it to the final. Just taking it down to the final widths, and it snapped, which was, again, I'm prone to fits of anger and rage, and it took some very disciplined mental focus to not lose my temper, because I'd gotten so close to being done with it, and but I'd gotten just a little bit careless. I had been much more careful in my approach in all the other wands that I've spun so far, knowing that once you get down to that width, then you're taking them down to that final step, that they're definitely much more prone to splitting or breaking, especially turning at the speeds that I was turning at. And since I hadn't had one break yet, I was kind of casually and unintentionally just kind of pushing those limits. I was careless. I was putting more force into it, and wasn't as focused on making sure that it didn't break as I was on getting it done quickly. And it cost me, because it was once it breaks like that, it's not something that you can fix. It's not something you can patch, repair. It's done. So it was kind of a waste of an hour in a certain sense. You can look at it that way, which was exactly how I was looking at it. That I had wasted a whole hour getting to that point, and now that hour was gone, and I had nothing to show for it, and I had to adjust. I had to modify my perception and my perspective. I had to take a different approach, that it wasn't a waste of time. I came up with a new handle design that I was very happy with. It's the visual of it, what I felt while looking at it, I was very moved by. That's the only way I could put it. And I had to basically sweep aside those impulses to lose my temper, to get pissed off, to say I'm never doing this again, to just quit and be done, and worse than that, throw things around and break things, which I have in my capacity as a human to do. I've done it before. So those kind of impulse reactions that I have to sometimes keep in check. So I had to, again, alter my perception, my perspective, and say, you know what, I did something that I hadn't done before. I created a new design. I was very happy with it, and I got to put my focus and my creativity to use, and use my hands and physically generate something in this world that didn't exist before I started. And it broke, but I now have a new handle design that I can try and move forward with. I also, because it's the first time I've ever tried to spin that type of wood, have a better understanding of that type of wood and the capacity it has to split and break. It was definitely a more brittle wood type that I had used in any of the previous ones that I've turned. So one, I either need to not use that variety of wood anymore, or I need to be very careful in how I handle. So I learned some things, and I can make notes of those consumed by the negative aspect of what I had done. So I benefited from it. And now a couple days have passed, and I'm looking forward to getting out there and turning another one, and possibly replicating that handle style, and maybe with a different variety of wood. So, all good things, and I really feel like I'm walking kind of a fine line. I feel like I'm pushing some limits. I feel like I'm stretching myself just a little farther than I'm comfortable stretching in all aspects of my life. But I feel like I'm gaining ground, but I'm doing it cautiously. I don't feel like I'm overextending. I feel like I'm making progress without adding too much risk to the possibility of achieving what I'm setting out to do. So I feel like I'm in a good spot, and that doesn't change some of my moods, though. I mean, it's and this is kind of where I was at yesterday. Generating this book is basically going to be kind of putting a spotlight on some of those dark areas in our lives. Because as much as I've been trying to move forward in a positive state of mind, and as much as I've put into evolving and bettering myself, making improvements, I was extremely irritable yesterday, very edgy, and Rhonda and I seemed to be kind of at odds yesterday. She was kind of in one of those moods as well, so we basically did our best to try to slip it into neutral and not allow our tendency to let those types of moods have an effect on what we're doing and how we're doing it, and or affect our relationship. And it's, I think, one of the beneficial traits that we've developed in our relationship is we have days where we just don't vibe. And it's not necessarily that we're just not vibing together. It's one of those days where I'm not vibing with anybody, and she's not vibing. And we're still involved in a relationship together. We still share a home. We still share a workspace. And it's not allowing yourself to slip into those pitfalls and become immersed with and consumed with the emotion that's there, and do stuff that may cause irreparable damage to your relationship, or in some cases your surroundings. But I mean, we worked through it through the evening. We both kind of, like I said, slipped it into neutral and tried not to push each other's buttons, and tried to find a comfort zone that we could exist through the rest of the evening without creating a worse situation for ourselves. New day came, sun came up, and we're moving through it without having to carry some unnecessary baggage that we could have